That to me was the breaking point, because that was the one thing I couldn't disprove. Because my buddy, my fraternity president, his name's Aaron. And so really what happened was you pull on one thread in Islam and it leads to another and it leads to another and it leads to another. And you're kind of sitting there like, when is this going to end? You start learning about things like Muhammad and Aisha, right? About how he consummated her at 9 years old. You start to learn about how he spread religion through fear and through the sword. You start to learn about how this was the X factor, Michael, when he denied the crucifixion and the Quran denied the crucifixion. That to me was the breaking point, because that was the one thing I couldn't disprove. Because my buddy, my fraternity president, his name's Aaron, I couldn't ever deny the crucifixion. And when I learned that the crucifixion, by our best knowledge and best evidence here in 2025, happened, well, that was the main thing. And then that took the Quran completely out of the realm for me. I was like, well, nothing in this book I really can academically and with integrity respect, because that is so blatantly wrong. And that's what did it for me.
That is a big thing. And then you also have them saying in like Surah 9, like the Jews say Ezra is the son of God. No Jews anywhere have ever said that. You have them, saying chainmail existed during the time of David. Again, completely wrong. And then they'll fixate on like something like, well, it says the Pharaoh existed during Moses and it was only a king during the time of Joseph, which they fail to recognize the fact that the word Pharaoh is a transliteration in Hebrew. It just, when it's transliterated into English, Hebrew, Arabic, it just becomes a general word for a ruler of Egypt. And so if that was actually really an historical miracle, as they say, they should be using the actual ancient Egyptian terms, not transliterated terms in Arabic, like Pharaoh, which actually comes through Greek. So like, when they try to make these scientific or historical miracles, they really just sort of like stretch to make anything work or lie outright. And then they will ignore the blatant issues, like it says the sun sets in a muddy pool, or that, semen comes from the backbone and the ribs, or, like as you mentioned, denying the crucifixion, which is really hard to get around.
So another loose thread in it was just this special allocation that was given to Jesus himself, right? Like the kalimatuhu, right? The word from God. And this was a designation that Jesus Christ got that no other prophet got. How he was sinless, how he was virgin born, how he was the al-Masih, right? Which they don't really expand on in the Quran, but the man who is going to be really responsible for all of judgment, right? And so the character of Jesus was the second major thread. I was like, well, if he is the word and the spirit from God, right? That's in Surah 4, I believe. Why are we just treating him like a normal prophet if he is the virgin-born son of Mary? And like, why are we not giving him the credit he deserves? And the only way that you can kind of discern what that means is by going back to the Injil and going back to the Bible and seeing, well, what was said about him. But this is another thing, is that they say that the Injil was corrupted, right? That it's not verifiable. You can't touch it and hold it. And like, you won't be able to discern from it as well. Like, it's been corrupted by people. Well, they never tell you when, where, or how that happened with verifiable evidence that is strong. And then when you read the Injil, and this is actually what did it for me, I actually read the book, which is a crazy concept for a lot of Muslims. Like, actually reading the book is just a wild concept these days. I was like, well, there's nothing, like, I tried to be as objective and as humble as possible. And I was like, there's nothing in this book that, like, what is the incentive for somebody to, one, corrupt, and then two, die for, right? Like, this isn't some crazy claim like you're going to be promised, everything in this world, and like, obviously the eternal kingdom will come to you through Jesus, but like, it's a hard thing to follow, right? It's a hard path to go down. You have to die to yourself. So like, why would somebody even try to corrupt that into that? There's no like political influence or power that would really come for that. And so I'm reading the Bible objectively, and I'm looking at the Quran, and there's just this stark contrast of like, what is the real mission of each of these religions, right? And like, what I ended up coming to the conclusion was a pretty fair one, was I don't think I really gain anything by becoming Christian other than the eternal kingdom of heaven, right? But like in this physical world, when I'm so used to being a performance-based Muslim, like I had no reason to be Christian, right? And then when you look at the things you have to lay down for that, right? Like for me, I had to lay down my family, my best friends, my community, my neighbors. I have to lose all this. And when I converted to Christianity, my dad got very hostile. He's a very strong man in his faith. He grew up in a very abusive family, and so he was physical. And so, he was very physical, or almost got physical with me. My mom, she cried for 3 years straight when she saw the cross around my neck.